When we talked about first offers, we saw that it is often better to make an exaggerated first offer far from our objective, rather than a relatively reasonable one that leaves us little room for maneuver. What I have not told you, however, is that in addition to making an exaggerated first offer, it is also essential to be the one that takes initiatives in expressing this first offer. When we give introductory seminars on negotiation, and we ask participants whether it is better to speak first, or whether it is better to wait for the other person to take the lead and the initiative, many people answer that they prefer to wait. If we ask participants to justify this and ask them to explain why, they often respond that they are reluctant to make the first offer because they are afraid of disclosing part of their interest and objectives to the other person, and that this information will be or would be used against them afterwards. What people are actually telling us is that they think that the first offer and the first person who speaks is putting himself or herself in a position of weakness, because first offer reveal to the other party information that one would have been better off keeping quiet for as long as possible. However, reality is quite different. With a few exceptions, being the first to speak in a negotiation is a considerable advantage, and it is generally profitable. The advantage associated with being the first to speak is that the first offer functions as an anchor, a point around which subsequent behavioral decisions are made. Anchors are very powerful. They direct our attention in a specific direction. When an anchor occurs, it is necessary for people to adjust their judgment so that they are not unduly carried away by the anchor, and that they make decisions taking into consideration that anchor alone, regardless of their concrete reality. In other words, the first offer anchors the negotiation at a specific point, and all subsequent proposals put on the table will revolve around this anchor point. Let us return to our introductory example of the car sale between Chris and John. If the seller, John, is the first to speak and sets his first price at $10,000, the subsequent proposals, whether expressed by the buyer, Chris, or by John himself, will turn around this first anchor of $10,000. Conversely, if it is not John but Chris, the buyer, who made the first proposal, the anchor will no longer be at $10,000 but at $7,500, and the subsequent proposition will this time turn around the value of $7,500. In short, anchors direct the discussion in the direction of the person who made the first offer. And this preferential direction of attention benefits the person who spoke first. If it is the seller who made the first offer, the final outcome of the negotiation will be high. If the buyer made the first offer, the final outcome will be much lower. This being said, one also needs to recognize that there is often a pecking order in making first offer. It is often the seller who makes the first offer, not the buyer. And it is often the boss who makes the first offer, not the employee.